So today I want to share with you guys a funny story that happened at the gym, but I think at the end of the episode, it's really going to branch off to really giving you guys some maybe leadership skills, helping you guys out if let's say you're trying to get your friends, your family, your coworkers to also, live a healthier lifestyle or whatever the case may be. And then I'm going to just drop the mic as far as, hey, this is how it is, plain and simple at the end. So before we get to that, let me first tell you guys a little story. So I'm at the gym, I'm working out, and a couple of my buddies up there, they're talking about all these cars, right? These fancy cars, these makes, these models, like engines, like all this stuff, right? And I'll be honest with you, that's not like, I don't care about that stuff, nor do I look that stuff up. I'm like, hey, if a car gets me to the grocery store and gets me to my son's daycare and gets me to the gym, that's all I need it for. I'm not a car guy at all, plain and simple. And so, they're just kind of like, talking about the cars. And then they ask me, they're like, hey, Joe, what kind of car do you drive? And I'm like, you guys really want to know? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, hey, I drive a 2012 Honda Civic with 92,000 miles on it. And they're like, wait a minute, what? Like, you have this huge business, like you like, we see everything that you're doing. Why don't you just go buy a new car? Like, why don't you go, buy something that's just a little bit more luxurious, better, and etc. And I'm like, because I don't care. Like, plain and simple, I don't care. I was like, sure, I got the money, I can go buy a fancier car, but what's the point? I have a car that's realistically going to last me for, I don't know, 15, 20 more years. It's paid off. There's nothing wrong with it at all. The only time I really take it to the mechanic is like when I need to get an oil change, which is very rare. A few times a year, we already put some synthetic oil in there and I'm good to go. Like the thing's going to last me forever. I was like, and I just kind of told them my viewpoints. I was like, I'm not a car guy. I never was, probably never will be, honestly. And it's just not something that I care or I desire to learn more about. I think, hey, if there's ever opportunity where I can test drive like an awesome car and go really, really fast, I think that would be great in that present moment. But it's not something that I'm like, oh, I have to get this car. It's a desire for me. It's an intention. I need this car. Because for me, I'm more about like, hey, let's just acquire more money and then use that as investments, whether that is, resources for my business, whether that is stocks, whether that is, saving up for, retirement, whatever the case may be, right? Like, I just don't need a fancy car, plain and simple. I'd rather buy a fancier house rather than a fancier car, So I just told them it's not really a priority to me. And so as I'm leaving the gym in my Honda Civic, right, I'm thinking to myself, man, you know what? Like, this kind of makes sense with guys that aren't serious about their health and fitness goals. Think about it. Some people out there, they just don't have a desire. They don't. And I know, like, I always preach about Heartletics is like, hey, you should really strive to become the best version of yourself. And I fully, without a doubt, bottom of my heart, mean that. You definitely should. But if you have, let's say, coworkers, friends, maybe even some family members, and you care about them, if they don't have a desire to make a change, and this is kind of like that mic drop, you can't save anybody. And I learned that the hard way. Anytime out there, like if let's just say like there's somebody, a family member, right, or a friend, and I know that they're struggling with their health. Maybe it's high blood pressure, maybe it's high cholesterol, and like you want them to make a change and you want to give them all the support and you want to help them out. It's just like they have to want it first. You can't force anybody to do anything. And so much so that if you try to, you're just going to push them farther and farther and farther away, right? Where they're just going to hate upon that fact even more. So it got me thinking, right? How can we do our part to really change the world and make it a better place? Because, over 40% of the U.S. is considered obese. Literally, I think there was a 7.8 or 7.9% increase in pharmaceutical drugs from 2021 to 2022, which is just crazy. Literally, the industry, right? Pharmaceutical drugs for like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, all this stuff, jumped from, I think, a $458 billion industry to like a $572 billion industry, which is insane. And it's just like, what can we do to do a better job, right, at helping out others? It all starts with us helping out ourselves. That's it. Plain and simple. I'm never going to be a car guy, right? At least for right now, I can say that, right? I'm not going to be that guy that's going to go want to buy a nice car, right? If I get a Tesla one day, awesome. I think that's great because I really like Elon Musk and I would support him, right? But like, it's not a burning desire. And maybe you know some people in your life. Maybe they're family members, maybe they're friends, maybe they're coworkers, and you have had a positive impact, right, with your own health and fitness journey. So much so that it's like, hey, you want to help out others now. You want to share like, hey, you start walking more and you start eating healthy and all that stuff. But if it's not something that somebody cares about or desires about or is interested in, it might push them farther and farther away the more and more you try to chase and try to change them. So it all kind of stems to that fact of like, to really become a leader out there and to really inspire others, it has everything to do with you not just talking the talk, right? It's great to try to, hey, preach to other people about eating more protein, right? And being more active and trying to live a healthier lifestyle. I think that's great. But I think what's most important is when you walk the walk and you just realize here that like, hey, at the end of the day, when the time is right for them, they might come up and ask you questions. Hey, how did you do this? How did you get this amazing transformation? And I think it all boils down to somebody needs a reality check, And for me, like driving a Honda Civic, who knows, right? Maybe something happens in the next, 5, 10, 15, 20 years of my life where everybody in my neighborhood has brand new nice cars, right? And everywhere I go, it's brand new nice cars. And something happens, right, where it's just like, hey, I might want that new car. Or better yet, let's say my car breaks down and I'm forced to literally buy a new car. Well, that might be your friends. That might be your coworkers. That might be some of your family members where they go to the doctors for an annual checkup and they're like, hey, your A1C levels are elevated. You're a borderline type 2 diabetic. You got to make a change. It might be at that point where, boom, they start coming to you. But what you can do, right, to help them in that meantime is by you focusing on you. And I know you might think that's a little bit like selfish, but it's really not. We like to say it's selfless because if you can really strive to become the best version of yourself and really pour your heart and soul into that, and what does that actually mean, right? Become the best version of yourself. That's making a commitment that you are worthy of whatever it is that you want, that you are a priority in your own life, that you, right, are a goal-setting beast, mastermind, right? That, hey, if I want something, I'm going to go get it. You have that winner's mindset 24/7, and you know, hey, you're going to strive. You know also the path that, because obviously you're working on yourself mentally, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. It's going to be tough at times. It's going to be difficult. But at the end of the day, as long as you don't give up, you will have success. So like becoming the best version of yourself mentally and physically, it honestly means just becoming 1% better each and every day. And when something happens in somebody else's life, once again, maybe they go to the doctors or maybe one of their family members struggles and something happens with their health and there's a medical concern that kind of, it's that, holy cow, I got to make a change here. It's a reality check. By you walking the walk and you focusing on you, you're going to be able to help out others because they're going to see that, hey, you're not that person that's just like, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this, Because remember, the more you try to force anything upon somebody, especially if it's something that they don't have a desire for, they don't like, it's going to make them repel even farther. They're not going to like it. Me, for example, being a father, if let's say like my son, let's just use broccoli, for example. So like, let's just say he doesn't like broccoli, but I'm forcing this kid to eat broccoli, right? Force, and like, I'm like, hey, you're gonna go sit in timeout if you don't eat broccoli, and he's like tears running down his eyes, right? He's all upset. It's just gonna make things worse. He's gonna hate broccoli even more because I'm forcing it upon him. And I think as a parent, I think as a father, I think as somebody that's just trying to make the world a better place, is we should never force anything upon anybody else. So it's just like, how do we put this in terms of being a better leader? Because that's what the real intentions are for today's episodes, is to help you and to really truly get the message across that, hey, just walk the walk. It's okay to talk the talk from time to time, but still walk the walk. Be that own living proof. Be that own example. So that way when something happens, right, hopefully that's not the case, right? Nobody wishes anything bad upon their friends, their family, their coworkers, anything like that. But just in case they don't have that desire to get in better shape and something does happen where, let's say they go to the doctors and they get a negative report, they're going to know who to come to. They're going to know who to go to, and they're going to know, hey, I need to go talk to so-and-so. They don't just, talk the talk, but they actually walk the walk. They're living proof that, hey, you can make a change, plain and simple, and you're that own inspiration. That's why I always say, it's just like, when you fully become that best version of yourself, you're going to start leaving these sparks, right, on all these different people, right? Maybe it's your family, coworkers, friends, whatever the case may be. And eventually that spark might turn into a flame where that person, right, decides to focus on becoming the best version of themselves mentally and physically. They start making a change. And then guess what? The same thing happens. It's that snowball effect, right? Then more sparks are going to, flare out. And that's honestly how, at least what I'm trying to do at Heartletics, is make the world a better place, is by teaching somebody, hey, how do they have all the tools to eat and train properly, specifically for their body type and goals, but doing so in a way where they can create sustainable habits to then teach it to others. Plain and simple. There's a big difference between being an asset and a liability. And I always want to, encourage our members to always focus on being that asset, where, hey, your family doesn't have to worry about your health. Your family doesn't have to worry about you, like nothing like that. You're going to be that guy that's constantly getting better and better, like fine wine, as the years progress, to where, hey, maybe you're a grandfather, right? Still banging out push-ups, still being in shape. I remember my history teacher from school, from high school. This dude was, I think, in his 60s, 70s, something like that. And he was so physically fit. I mean, this dude, like, it's insane. He was always doing push-ups with me in the lunchroom, which was great. And it was great just seeing that. I remember, like, just thinking, reminiscing right now as I'm recording this, like, I want to be like him when I'm his age. Just very active, very mobile, right? Moving around. He's always going on hikes. He always, wherever he went, right? I remember we had to do this camping trip, and he brought his resistance bands to do like bicep curls and like shoulder presses with them. And I'm like, this guy's awesome. Like, I want to be like that when I'm his age, And man, it brings a smile to my face because obviously, like, I'm reminiscing hardcore from the good old days. But it just kind of goes to show you that, at the end of the day, you just need to focus on being the best version of yourself. And you never know who's watching. And when you're truly walking the walk, who knows? It might, leave that spark of inspiration for somebody out there, And just like me, not being a car guy, driving a 2012 Honda Civic with 92,000 miles on it, guess what? Like, somebody, right? Friends, family, coworkers, right now, there might not be that desire for them to make a change. There might not be that intention. They don't care about it. But my car might break down. And then at that time, I might be forced to buy a brand new car. And then guess what? The car guys at the gym, hey guys, I need to buy a new car. What are some cars? They're going to give me some recommendations. Maybe I might get a better car based on their recommendations because of the conversations that we had. And I trust them, So it's just like, somebody might go to the doctors, get bad report, and they might come over to you and say, hey, I trust you. I know, you had this amazing transformation. I've seen the transformation happen before my own eyes. You not only talk the talk, but you walk the walk. How can I get in shape? And you can't force anybody to do anything. You really can't. You can't change anybody at all. You know, what you can do is just really strive to become the best version of yourself. And I think that's going to help you out so much more in the long run with inspiring others and leaving that spark of inspiration as well. So hopefully you guys got some motivation and inspiration from today's episode. If you did, definitely let me know. And as always, guys, this has been Coach Joe with the Heartletics Podcast. I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.